All right, everyone, welcome. Today we are diving into one of the most exciting, most hopeful scientific stories of our time. It's a story that for millions of people has felt like a distant dream, but is now finally becoming a scientific reality.
So let's just jump right in, because you know that old saying in the diabetes community, right? The cure is always just 5 years away? Well, what if I told you that that saying is officially dead? What if the science has finally actually caught up to the hope and is delivering real, tangible results that are changing people's lives right now?
And I'm not talking about some far-off futuristic headline. This happened. This is a documented medical first from 2024. A real patient who was living with type 1 diabetes became completely insulin-free. Her body just started making its own insulin again. This one single event has fundamentally changed the entire conversation around a cure.
And get a load of this number, 98%. Now, for anyone living with diabetes, you know just how unbelievable that is. For everyone else, time in range is the amount of time a person's blood sugar stays in a healthy zone. This patient was in that zone 98% of the time, for a whole year, without a single insulin injection. That is a level of control that's just life-altering, and it's being done by her own brand new cells.
So, the big question, right? How on earth did they actually do this? Let's break down the science behind this absolutely incredible 2024 breakthrough. The process here is it's remarkable. Okay, so first, they took the patient's own cells. Then, they basically hit rewind on those cells' biological clock, turning them back into these super powerful stem cells. Step 3 was the magic. They coaxed those stem cells into becoming brand new insulin-making beta cells. And finally, they put those new cells back into the patient. They literally created a personalized cure from her own body. It's called an autologous approach, and folks, it is a total game changer.
It is so important, though, that we're clear on what we mean by cure here. We're talking about a functional cure. What does that mean? It means the body is making its own insulin again, and the need for injections is gone. It doesn't mean the underlying autoimmune issue has vanished, but for all practical, day-to-day purposes, the burden of diabetes management is just lifted.
And you know, scientists are rightly cautious. They're not declaring total victory just yet. This quote from an expert like Dr. Jay Schuyler really drives that home. This is a monumental step for sure, but we really need that long-term data, 5 years or more, to truly know if it's a permanent, lifelong cure.
So that brings us to the next massive question. Okay, it worked for one person, amazing, but how do you scale that? How do you take this success and make it available to the thousands and eventually millions of people who need it? Well, that's where the big clinical trials come in. And the answer might just be a therapy called Zimacell from a company called Vertex Pharmaceuticals. I mean, just look at these results from their trials. 10 out of 12 patients became completely insulin independent. Severe, dangerous low blood sugars? Eliminated. And every single person got their A1C below that key target of 7%. These aren't just little improvements. These are knockout, transformative results.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, this approach, which uses cells from donors, has a pretty significant trade-off. On the one hand, the cure part is that you can create a basically unlimited supply of these cells for tons of patients. But the caveat, the downside, is that it requires taking powerful, lifelong immunosuppressant drugs to keep your body from rejecting the new cells.
And that very trade-off, that big caveat, leads us straight to what many scientists are calling the holy grail of this research. A cure that you can scale up for lots of people, but without any need for those harsh immunosuppression drugs.
This is where it starts to feel like real science fiction. Scientists are using CRISPR gene editing to basically give these donor cells a cloaking device. They go in and edit the genes to make the cells totally invisible to the body's immune system. And the result? The body just accepts the new cells, no fight, no rejection. And, this is the key, no immunosuppressants needed.
And listen to this. This is not a what-if scenario anymore. It's already happening. Just this year, we saw the first incredible proof of concept in a human being. These CRISPR-edited cells were transplanted, and they started producing insulin for months, all without the person needing to take a single anti-rejection pill. This is the future, and it is happening right now.
So, while all these incredible cures are being perfected, what about today? Is there anything that can change the course of this disease right now? And the answer to that is a huge, resounding yes.
32.5 months. That's almost 3 years.
That is the median delay in getting full-blown type 1 diabetes for people at high risk who take a drug called teplizumab, or Tzield. It is the first therapy ever approved to actually delay the disease from starting.
This chart just lays it out so clearly. Look at the placebo group. Almost 3/4 of them progressed to needing insulin. But with teplizumab, that number drops way down to just 45%. Look, it's not a permanent cure, but it is buying people precious years of life without needles and pumps. It's a bridge to these future cures.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. What does this actually mean for you, for your family? When can we realistically, honestly expect these therapies to be available? Well, the good news is that horizon is closer and clearer than it has ever been. And this is not some fantasy wish list anymore. This is a timeline based on active late-stage clinical trials. Teplizumab is available right now. Based on their incredible results, Vertex's therapy could get an FDA approval as early as 2026. And those amazing CRISPR therapies, we could see them becoming available towards the end of this decade. The dominoes are finally starting to fall.
Of course, we have to keep our feet on the ground. It's so important to be realistic. These incredible breakthroughs come with some pretty major hurdles. The cost to start is going to be immense. Access will probably be limited at first, and we still need that crucial long-term data. Plus, we still have to solve the underlying autoimmune problem for good.
So with all of this mind-blowing science on the horizon, what is the single most important thing you can do? What is the big takeaway for you or for someone you love to do right now to get ready? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, and it's incredibly powerful.
Hope is finally truly real. It is backed up by data. But hope itself isn't a management strategy. The absolute best thing anyone can do to prepare for these future cures is to get the best possible control of their diabetes today. It prevents complications, it preserves your health, and it makes you a much better candidate for these amazing therapies when they finally arrive.
The future of diabetes treatment is being completely rewritten, right as we speak. Whether it's the personalized stem cells, the scalable donor cells, or those invisible CRISPR cells, the question is no longer if a cure is coming. The question now is when.